Welcome friends to another 40k video. Today we look to the Thunder Warriors and one of their first deployments and how a group of them later is ended by Constantine Valdor. All the information is from Valdor, Birth of the Imperium by Chris Wraight. Let's get straight into it. The Moreland Sen was a number of states who had come together during the Anarchy of Terror. The Emperor's plan was in motion, but he had not yet shown his hand. Moreland Sen stood out due to its abominations, and the future master of mankind wanted to eradicate them. The human soul, if left untended, tends to moral corruption. Moreland Sen had no law, no regulation of the powerful, no true science, a willful indulgence of excess and ignorance. Here the Legio Contagious, or later Thunder Warriors, are deployed in its entire strength for the first time, and they were supported by standard troops and 30 Legio Custodes. This place was a test for the Thunder Warriors to see how they performed as a group. Now the Thunder Warriors did have Primarchs, and this particular group had a Primarch, though it wasn't such a leap in terms of the strength from the standard warrior to the Primarch itself. The position is earned via their abilities on the battlefield, and the Primarch of this group of Thunder Warriors is the equivalent of a Captain General who had earned his rank over the others. He had shown good leadership and was appointed directly by the Emperor. There were 20 such leaders, one for each group of Thunder Warriors. This one was called Ushatan. They faced a man called the Priest King, and his armies were made of men stitched together into mockeries of the human form. Some were encased in machines and goaded into war with pain amplifiers, and the warriors began to take land back from the Priest King. Those 7,000 troops died. I think these are likely the Imperial Guard supporting them rather than the actual Thunder Warriors themselves. Now what separated these forces was the belief in the Emperor that the Thunder Warriors had, where the Priest King's promises many had now seemed to be hollow. Around Moreland Sen was a sickness. You could taste it in the air. It seemed to make the Thunder Warriors thrive for some reason. They became caught in their aggression. Perhaps this is some chaos influence unleashing those bad aspects of their personality. They needed no orders, and it said that their violence was elemental. The city was in the mountains at the edge of the world. Snow was all around those assaulting it. Flamers on either side caused meltwater to build up. And as they were advancing through torrents of it, a grey sea of filth found its way into their armour seals. The tanks that were with them stalled, and the electrical relays burst. And a quote from the book, "We were reduced to infantry engagements faster than anticipated, and still the walls were intact." The Thunder Warriors Primarch Ushatan made a breakthrough, and the Thunder Warriors slaughtered both slaves and the corrupted. The Thunder Warriors are compared to munitions, powerful but unstable. But this display also showed the Emperor their prowess. When the citadel had been taken, Ushatan says that he understands now, after the fight, the reason he had been made. Later Thunder Warriors marched on another city, and Valdor is there, and thinks he should feel good about this victory. But the air tastes of ash. Meanwhile, Ushatan, true to his training, never retreated an inch. He roared into contact, broadsword leaking, raw disruptor plasma, armour trailing, dirty lines of filth, power unit bursting with smog. The rest of the Thunder Warriors did the same, tearing into the interlopers, emptying their guns at them before swinging their cracking blades. They were aggressive as the Emperor had engineered them to be. Valdor feels they must know their time is coming. It must be ending soon. Ushatan asks Valdor what he thinks of the Emperor's latest green warriors, those that would be his dark angels, the first legion. At the time they were Astartes in the making. They weren't the powerful warriors we find that helps mankind conquer and found the Imperium. They are bleeding from implants. Their minds are ravaged by imperfect psycho-conditioning. But there is potential. Valdor, under orders to end the Thunder Warriors, goes face to face with the Primarch, Ushitan, who says, perhaps Valdor will regret what he has to do, and then their weapons crashed together for the first time, sword edge grating against spear tip, and the kinetic release flattened a dozen fighters in all directions. Then they were driving savagely into one another, slashing, parrying, hacking, testing. Ushitan wonders what it would be like to fight Valdor, who removed a pauldron from the Thunder Warrior. The warrior looked tired, but did not let up with his sword work. Ushitan checked Valdor's spear and says that these new warriors, like his men, will see the custodians coming for them in the end. They are all dispensable. All but Valdor. Valdor threw off the deadlock, hacked back at Ushitan. Piling strength onto strength, he could feel abundance flowing through his sinews, fueling him with a familiar cold martial perfection. Already he could perceive the end to this encounter, its possible outcomes narrowing swiftly now, pitilessly shrinking down to the singularity of another conquest. Valdor sees a gap, as the Thunder Warrior now has heavy arms from his efforts to stop Valdor killing him. Valdor spun the spear and moved it forward, dead straight, and the blazing spear point crashed on through the Primarch's breastplate, shoving him out backwards. Ushitan roared, grabbing the hilt of Valdor's weapon and trying to wrench himself free of it, but now the disruptor charge was spilling across him, tearing up what remained of his battleplate and searing into the skin below. Valdor cast him down, using the spear's leverage to slam him to the snow-piled ground. Ushitan says that Valdor gave him the mercy stroke. The Primarch says he lived, though it was short, and he'd rather live like that than like Valdor, who experienced no joy, no fear, no hate, and Valdor saw himself in a future unchanged, but fighting the darkness of the galaxy. Ushitan asks, what more can the Master of Mankind take from him? Valdor finishes the warrior and says quietly, nothing. And that, friends, is where I end today's video. I love the idea of there being Primarchs and 20 legions before the actual Space Marines have been fully developed. And I wonder what future Valdor was seeing. Could it be the Horus Heresy, or perhaps sometime after he goes missing? Fun things to speculate on. Got something to say? Drop me a comment down below.